Hi guys, and welcome back to another devlog. Today in this video I will be showing you all of the progress that I have made in the past week on my indie game Anchored Up. And yes, Anchored Up is a new name. I was referring to it as ships before, but finally got a name down. So here is where we left off last week, with the enemy being able to navigate to the player and being able to recognise other enemy ships that were on the map. So today in this video we will be covering enemy combat, and that involves using both weapons, winning and losing, so being able to continue levels, the main menu, and finally the level select system. And at the end there'll be a bit of a bonus about possible release platforms and organisation as an indie dev. The first thing I got on with having the enemies being able to use weapons was setting up the weapon spawning system on the enemy. I could kind of reuse the code from the player in this regard, as that just means that the weapons can be dynamically spawned, as you can see in this array, which makes it very easy. So when I'm making levels, I'll be able to just type in the name of the weapon that it wants to use for that specific slot, and it will spawn it in there dynamically. I then set up the laser for being able to be used by the enemy, and the way that I am checking whether or not it can or can't shoot is by using a raycast on that weapon. The following weekend I took part in the GMTK Game Jam 2020 with No Ninja. The theme was out of control, so we kind of had this spinning space station where you could bounce around in it, and you could only really move when you were outside of the space station. There'll be a link to play the game down below. I then spent the following Wednesday playing some of your guys' games, which you can see on screen at the moment, and if you did submit your game, thank you very much for submitting. I had a lot of fun playing them. The next thing I worked on was the level select system. However, I didn't get any footage, time-lapse footage of me making that. However, here is the after report screen. So after you've played a level, if you fail, then it'll say you failed, or if you've won, it'll say you've won. And there's a retry button there which dynamically works by checking what the previous scene was, and I'll show you how that kind of works later. There'll be a menu button, and then there'll be a level select button. This is how the code works on the script that is the data transfer between the actual level and then the after report. So it'll display how many moves it took for you to win, the status, that means if your ship has been boarded or it's been destroyed or if you've won. Then you've got a sub status, which is actually the boarded or destroyed. The status is actually the win or lose. Then it's got a previous scene, which is how the retry button knows what to load back into. The previous levels, so that way the level select system can progress what level you are on. The unlockable weapon, that's a reward, and then it will load into the after report. So here you can see me working on a 3D model that is a bird, and these will spawn in randomly and fly past just to add some visual interest to the rest of the level. So talking about visual interest, before the level looked quite static, and that's partly due to the fact that I'm using an unlit art style. However, I've added some particles to make it look like the island is floating in a way, and I've also added some animations to the ships for when they sink as well. I also did some different colour grading using post-processing with the colour blue. Also, as you can see, I have replaced the palm trees with geodes, and this is because I want the first section of the game to be set in a cave. And finally, onto the main menu. As you can see, I have got the core game loop pretty much done at this point. I have integrated the customization of the ship into the menu, sort of like Rocket League, how it just kind of makes it a lot easier to customize instead of having to load in and out of scenes. Here's the level select system, so as you can see it displayed a bit of information before you went into the level, and then of course you are into the level and playing. Also, as you can see, I changed the possible tiles that you can move to be white, just to keep consistent with the rest of the colour scheme. And finally, the final part of the game loop is the after report, where you can then load back into the main menu, and the press any key to start won't appear because it can detect that you've already been in the menu. And finally, moving on to the bonus part about organisation. At the end of the week I update the Trello list, and as you can see here I'm dragging on the level select to done week 3, which is always a very rewarding part of the week. As for releasing the game, I'm not sure whether to upload to itch.io or Steam. I'm hoping the game will be done by sometime in November, and I'll hopefully have a short demo for you to play sometime in the next few weeks. So leave your thoughts about that in the comments below. Okay, so I thought I'd just talk a bit about how long this game is going to take to make, and about how I'm organising it using Trello. So most game developers use Trello anyway, and if you're not using Trello and you're working on a long-term project, I would very much recommend using it. It kind of puts things into perspective for you. So essentially, I've calculated that the game can be done by about the 14th of November this year. Now that is optimistic to say the least, because I'm doing this on like weekly schedules with long-term goals every week, and if I'm getting all of those done, then it should take about that long to make. However, there are lots of things that can go wrong when making games. There's lots of features that I might want to add and things like that. So I'm splitting each week down into these sub-goals. So here I've got to do week 4, so this is kind of a sneak peek at next week's devlog. I'll be making a new type of level. I'll hopefully have a new weapon. I'll be adding sharks, and I'll have at least 10 levels using those 2 different types of levels, if that makes sense. So, and hopefully by that point it should hopefully just take another week and I can get a fully organised, fully finished demo done. So I've already done something for next week, which is good to keep ahead of myself. I did the level display info while I was making the level display. So here's the daily tasks overall done, and this is just to kind of keep up to date with all the daily tasks I've done. So I'd very much recommend using Trello for that. Another thing as well is your opinion on whether or not I should be releasing the demo on Steam or on itch.io. The only issue with Steam is that there is a fee. Thanks for watching this week's devlog. If you are interested in keeping up to date with the project, then subscribing is the best way to do that. If you have any feedback for the game gameplay wise or visuals wise, please feel free to leave that in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.